WWE is in its coldest period since Triple H took over, and fans are taking notice. For one thing or another, things just aren't as exciting as they were in, say, 2024. Some may chalk it up to momentum. When you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. But I think it goes deeper, down to long-standing booking habits of this current creative team. WWE is currently in the midst of its annual King and Queen of the Ring tournaments. When I saw these brackets, I'll be honest, I was impressed. These brackets were filled with star power, with a couple of first-round matchups that could main event just about any show they were put on. But then I looked closer, and my excitement was replaced by disappointment. What I thought were exciting singles matches were, instead, a bunch of fatal four-ways. To be fair, this isn't new. Last year's King and Queen of the Ring tournaments were structured the same way, a round of fatal four-ways followed by 2 rounds of singles matches. But it is a weird way to run this particular set of tournaments that decide 2 world title challengers for the second biggest show of the year. This led me to ask, why are WWE's tournaments like this? Hell, why is WWE like this? Because, in my opinion, booking a tournament like this is essentially a storytelling scam. Let's dive into why I feel that way. But first, like and subscribe if you liked the video, please and thank you very much. Let's first look at the pros of this multi-person qualifier format. There must be some reason they're doing this after all, and this type of matchmaking has in fact become pretty common in the Triple H regime. The qualifiers for matches like Money in the Bank and Elimination Chamber also tend to be triple threats or fatal four-ways these days. These make sense for a few reasons. First, they fit the vibe of the matches they're qualifying for. That is to say, qualifying for a chaotic multi-person match by winning a chaotic multi-person match makes sense. It's also an easy way to get unpredictable participants into these matches without necessarily giving them clean wins against top stars. This is how you get Kiana James in the Elimination Chamber over Charlotte Flair and Nia Jax, 2 women much higher on the card. Again, this benefit makes sense for the matches being qualified for. Money in the Bank is tailor-made for elevating mid-carders to the main event scene, as long as the follow-up doesn't suck. Elimination Chamber benefits mid-carders by having them rub shoulders with world title contenders, and benefits from mid-carders that can get shock eliminations and make things less predictable. Overall, I like these multi-person qualifying matches, even if I think it's a well they go to a bit too often, but I have no doubt that it's not a good fit for King and Queen of the Ring, because these should be important tournaments that feature legitimate wins and crown strong contenders. I understand that after WrestleMania 42, WWE's big stadium shows come with more of a sense of dread than excitement, but these tournaments are still crowning world title challengers for the second biggest show of the year. As such, these winners should go through proper trials and get tough wins, and these first round fatal four-ways actively impede that goal. I mentioned before how these multi-person matches give mid-carders a fighting chance, kayfabe-wise. This is because it's easy to have them win these matches without necessarily beating anyone. If you've watched a wrestling before, you know what I mean by this. To illustrate my point, let's look at this year's men's bracket. In each match, it's pretty easy to identify a de facto pin eater, someone who is low enough on the card or cooled off enough that you can have them get pinned without really losing anything. Solo Sikoa, Damian Priest, Tala Tonga, Jey Uso, though that last one may be wishful thinking. By having these people in the match, you don't have to hand a direct loss to Seth Rollins or Penta or Trick Williams, wrestlers WWE want to build and preserve. But you may say, but what if these are red herrings and they swerve us by beating a top guy? To that, I'd first tell you to take stock of the promotion we're talking about and ask if they're in the habit of delivering twists like that. Second, yeah, you could have a top guy take a pin here, but there are plenty of ways to do that without doing it clean. You could have interferences, you could have fluke pins where wrestler A pins wrestler B after wrestler C did all the work. You've seen wrestling, right? My core problem here is that all wins gained in the first round of these tournaments will come with an asterisk that wouldn't necessarily be present if these were one-on-one matches. It not only feels cheap as a fan, but it undercuts the credibility of these tournaments and of their eventual winners. Let's run through a hypothetical scenario. Last Friday, Dominic Mysterio won his first round match off of interference from his allies in the Judgment Day. Textbook fluky win we were just talking about. He's moving on to the semifinals to face Oba Femi. On paper, this is an easy squash for Oba, but many are speculating that Oba may get screwed over by non-Judgment Day interference thanks to his ongoing feud with Brock Lesnar. This would put Dominic in the finals of the tournament without any legitimate wins. And sure, this is cookie-cutter WWE heel stuff, but has cookie-cutter WWE heel stuff ever been that engaging? Let's see this through to the end. Dominic ends up in the finals against, let's say, Seth Rollins, because WWE can't hide their boner for running back Shield lore again. If Dominic wins, which is unlikely, and if he wins clean, which is even more unlikely, then Dom wins the whole tournament by getting one legitimate win, or possibly no legitimate wins. Kinda makes the tournament look bad. Kinda makes it look like it was designed for BS wins rather than crowning the best competitor. And yes, this is all a fake competition, but the competition needs to have credibility within the fiction in order to invest. But if Seth wins, it's almost worse. Because what do these finals accomplish for him in that case? Seth just beat a guy who had no legitimate wins in this tournament. He gains nothing in terms of credibility or momentum, it's just an empty win. Hell, you can also write off Seth's round 1 win, because if roll-ups are considered cheap in this company, then a 4-way is definitely a write-off. So Seth wins this whole tournament by essentially winning a single real match. And I'm not saying that this will go by without any entertainment value. It's not for me, but interference spam and predictable babyface wins are what WWE audiences have been trained to like. But it should be concerning that both of these tournaments can pass by without anyone gaining or losing anything. That just isn't how wrestling booking is supposed to work. How do you get a viewer interested in a wrestling match? Well, you probably book people they want to see, but that'll only get you so far. How do you get them invested on a deeper level? You do it by having matchups that raise interesting questions. It could be as simple as, who's the better wrestler between these two very good wrestlers? It could be, which wrestler will this third party side with? Can this wrestler believe in themselves once again? Will the streak go on? Who is the least big loser of the big losers? These are questions that get fans hooked, that part them with their dollars and their free time to watch these meat castles roll around. And to keep those fans engaged, to earn their trust, you should be presenting and answering these questions at a decent rate. Sometimes you need a screwy finish to prolong a feud and entice fans with a pay-per-view rematch, which is fine from time to time, but if you do it constantly, fans will start to feel shortchanged. You'll lose goodwill and, over enough time, viewership. My problem with these first round Fatal 4-Ways is that they circumvent asking these questions at all. Let's look at the women's bracket. Liv Morgan, the women's world champion, is in a first round match. Really weird and bad decision for your champion, by the way. This could present a huge question. Will one of the other 3 competitors get a win over the world champion? But that question isn't very strong when there are so many avenues they could go down to avoid answering it. Interference, fluky wins, etc. And the rest of the matches don't have any question at all. It's just a mash of competitors. Can Finn Balor get through these 3 other guys and begin the mythological Finn Balor push? I don't know. Maybe? It's kind of a crapshoot. There's 4 guys there. Compare this to the Owen Hart Cup, another tournament where the prize is a world title at the promotion's biggest show of the summer. Take a first round match like Swerve versus Bandito. There wasn't a ton of story going in, and there didn't need to be. Our question is, which of these guys will win and advance to the next round? Simple as simple can be, but the question becomes more engaging because of the matchmaking. Swerve and Bandito are at very similar places on the card in opposite ways. Bandito is on the rise to AEW main event status, and Swerve is a former AEW world champion chasing a second reign. Both have valid reasons to win out of kayfabe, and both have similar levels of credibility in kayfabe. And since they're of similar stature, one guy losing this match shouldn't grind their momentum to a complete halt, but you're still getting a definitive result. You're still giving one of these guys a definitive win and giving them momentum. It makes things feel more dynamic. It makes the stakes feel like they have some kind of weight, even if it's in a relatively small and simple way. These are the kinds of simple yet effective scenarios that booking a singles tournament hands you on a silver platter, which is why it's baffling that WWE goes with this multi-man approach. Again, it begs us to ask, Why are they like this? In truth, I don't really have a proper answer to that. Despite 2 seasons of a documentary supposedly about WWE's writing and booking process, we don't know all that much about how the sausage gets made. What I can say is that this pattern of ducking any kind of legitimate answer to the questions raised by wrestling matches is rampant in modern WWE. From these multi-person schmozzes to interference trains, WWE avoids legitimate finishes like the plague on TV. And sure, if you're lucky, you'll get definitive results on pay-per-view, but even then, every bold decision made there seems to be walked back within a few months. Oba beats Brock in dominant fashion at WrestleMania, Brock gets his win back a few months later. Braun Breaker beats Seth Rollins, Seth gets his win back a few months later. Jacob Fatu beats down Roman Reigns in the lead up to pay-per-view twice? Hold this 0-2, Jacob, and acknowledge your tribal chief. We're in year 5 of Bloodline lore, by the way, but it's still only the bottom of the 3rd inning. Every decision WWE makes seems to tend towards some sort of equilibrium. Nobody can get too hot or too cold. Nobody can get a big win without having it rolled back. It should be impossible to book a single elimination tournament where nobody gains or loses any status, but they seem to be doing that handily with King and Queen of the Ring. But the kicker is that even if they were going for equilibrium, this is the least interesting way they could go about it. Here's a pitch. Rather than fatal 4-ways, the first round matches are 1 Raw wrestler versus 1 SmackDown wrestler. You'd probably get some novel matchups, and it gives you a plausible out for any result. After all, why would a wrestler have studied or prepared extensively for a competitor that isn't on their roster? Shine a light on tape study and maybe even coaching from managers as things that tip the scale one way or another. This way, wrestlers can get wins over bigger stars without definitively being better than them. This would also do more to add a sports-like feel than just starting every show with 10 minutes of people walking. Oh my god, Roman Reigns has a suitcase and he's walking. Are you excited for the show now? If creative wants to shoot for equilibrium, then fine. It's a fool's errand that can only end in stagnation, but fine. But they need to go about it in a more novel way, or even their most die-hard fans will get turned off. Well, that's not true. The diehards would eat Roman Reigns' big dog food straight out of the can. But you will continue to lose those fans on the fringes, and that's gonna start to add up. And if there's one thing these shareholders don't like, it's number going down. It's clear that WWE needs some kind of creative refresh, whether that's new personnel or what have you, but it's also clear that that probably won't happen for a hot minute. So if you're a WWE fan and you're getting sick of these patterns, I can't encourage you enough to branch out. It doesn't matter what you watch. I'm not trying to win you over to my team or whatever. It could be TNA from 20 years ago. They got some good stuff in the backlog. Just branch out and remind yourself that wrestling can be a vibrant, living thing, because in WWE, it just isn't right now. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you want to see more like this. And if you want to support me further, you can become a channel member starting at $2.99 a month. That'll get you access to member-exclusive bonus videos, and will get your name on screen at the end of every public video. And for $5.99 a month, you'll get all that plus a spoken shoutout at the end of every public video, which will sound a little something like this. Thank you to my supporters but larger, TB Skyen, Stephen Gorman, Norman the Great Dane, Jack Kruger, and Yami Loves Wrestling. Alright, I'm gonna go to sleep, and hopefully tomorrow we're gonna get some gosh dang news about Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. Am I right? Am I right, gamers? And my Nintendo folks out there? I mean, we've known about this game for like 6 months. How do we know nothing about that game right now?